There are several key points that I took away from this interview. The brain's key function is prediction. The goal of prediction is guiding action so that we can survive. Consciousness is therefore a tool for survival. The importance of prediction leads to the second key idea. Perception is a top-down phenomenon. The brain constantly predicts how its sensory inputs will change in response to whatever action it has initiated. This has several big implications, but the most important is probably the fact that it means that perception and consciousness are not about accuracy. They're about interacting with the world in a way that keeps us alive. What does this have to do with consciousness? The aspect of consciousness that most of us really care about is the self. How does the brain generate this sense of selfhood, along with the qualities such as agency and continuity? Seth makes a somewhat startling but simple claim. He says that the self is a form of perception. Now, if you're new to brain science, this may be hard to believe, but it actually fits with what a lot of previous guests have said, though perhaps in a more indirect way. It is a simple but elegant solution to the question of who is doing the perceiving, since it removes the need for an homunculus or inner observer. A key idea is that perception is not about finding out what's really out there. It's about control and regulation. As Seth said, the primary purpose of the brain is to keep the body alive, and everything else follows from that. Anil Seth's beast machine theory of consciousness is not a theory in the sense of the other popular theories that he mentioned. It's more of a description of how he approaches the real problem of consciousness. Whatever the mechanisms of consciousness are, they are clearly intimately connected to our animal bodies. There is no scientific reason to restrict consciousness to humans, even if we can't obtain verbal reports from non-human animals. One of the most fascinating aspects of Seth's book came out briefly during our conversation, and this was the idea that consciousness is intimately connected to life. This contrasts with some other approaches that presume that the key feature of consciousness is intelligence. Jeff Hawkins, who has a deep interest in understanding how the human cortex produces human intelligence, has been very explicit in saying that he is not trying to understand consciousness. This is a critical point when considering the possibility of the emergence or creation of non-living consciousness. This interview was full of nuggets, but it still only scratches the surface of Anil's wonderful new book, Being You, A New Science of Consciousness, which I recommend to everyone. There are a few other things you should know about the book. It has an excellent discussion of integrated information theory, including both its strengths and weaknesses. There's also a brief introduction to the importance of Carl Friston's work, which was mentioned by Mark Solms recently. There's a good overall introduction to the neuroscience of consciousness without excessive detail about the numerous competing theories. This is one reason why I think it's a great place to start if you're new to the topic, but you will enjoy it no matter what your background.